Only Mary, mother, found, great person, names, yeah, very happy, but. St. Anthony Padua, very much. So do you know what that, on that, what is that bird called on the, it's on the calendar
The
there?
doctor of the tree. I don't know what they're called. I know the nickname for it.
Oh, what happened?
It's a woodpecker,
Oh.
but if you want to know the proper name, pileated woodpecker, there's a lot of woodpeckers out there. And the first time I ever saw one, they made a comeback, but the first time I ever saw one was when I never seen one around here growing up, and then finally saw one that's out in the woods around Lincoln and Mary. I've been called a woodpecker all my life.
Black, red, and white one.
Yeah, just like that one. So the pileated was the tuft, the red tuft that comes up there. You know, the woody woodpecker. So, it's like so exciting. And now they're everywhere. Coming back.
Are the scientists trying to understand what's the structure of their bones? Because when they're hitting the tree in the where it has been, their head is like
Yeah. Yeah, they must have a very small brain in there somewhere. Maybe they're Irish. So Irish can bang their head on things and not hurt themselves. I'm just saying. But no, it's yeah, they're one of the things that they'll do too. You'll run they'll this is how they actually will call to each other. They want to find a mate. They'll tap. Well, so they'll go around to people's houses, and people have metal, pipes that go up and with a cap on it, and they'll bang on it. It's called drumming. Drives you crazy. I had to put all these things and grow all these spikes on this. I think 6 o'clock in the morning, right? Trying to get lucky.
well, you have an alarm then woke you up at 6.
That's okay. Well, I'm retired. I don't do that. Maybe in another life. Okay, so I did, by the way, thank you, Thomas, for making sure that I understand that the Suez Canal feeds into the Red Sea and then they go on out. So now that is part of my slide deck there, so I don't make that mistake again. By the way, never be shy about correcting me on a fact. I'm not, this is geography, I'm okay. Mostly in just Western Europe where I used to live. Anyway, so this is where we left off. Yes, sir. Yes, you may. This is where we left off. We talked about Napoleon become first consul. Remember, he'd come back from Italy, and they basically had like a coup d'etat, and they had his brother kind of helped set that up, and then he gets in there, and so they actually have the Senate actually has what they call a plebiscite, kind of takes a vote saying, is this okay with all you peeps out there that we're going to have one guy kind of in control there? And they said, yeah, that's cool. So he becomes the first consul. There's other 2 consuls in there, but they're kind of like there for dressing. He's running the show. He's pretty much Napoleon's running the show there. He does some very useful stuff there. He basically comes up with a new code of law, the Code Napoleon, and this is something I'm going to bring up later. I'll bring it up now. The British really looked down on him. It's like he was like lowborn. Who's this nobody that just shows up, and just because he's good with artillery, he's now running all of France, and he's really just some jerk. In fact, Horatio Alger refers to him as this common scoundrel. So Horatio, Nelson, Admiral Nelson, his dad was like a second tier reverend in some little tiny town somewhere outside the far burbs in England. And he's talking trash about Napoleon. So I thought, well, you know what? The English have a bad habit of talking trash about people that they don't like. They're just like, they're low born, they're not worthy. So I Googled and found out, I said, let me go research. So what's Napoleon's family like? So it's not in the book, but Napoleon's mom and dad were very highly educated, wealthy business people in Corsica. And his dad was a lawyer, so I'm not surprised that Napoleon would be interested in, let's come up with a better set of laws. So because his dad was a very well-known lawyer down in Corsica, and of course, we had these little small states down there, and he was, his dad was actually part of the court. So he was part of the, and they would use him as an ambassador and send him out. Doesn't sound like a very low-born person to me. And plus, the family had the money to basically send their son off to go to military school up in France. Yes, sir.
Did he once said a soldier who doesn't want to become a general is not a good soldier?
Don't know. I'd have to look that up.
I think he said something similar to that.
I know one of the things he said is that the bayonet is very useful. The only thing you can't do with a bayonet is sit on it.
Uh-huh.
That's the one. That's like the only quote I remember from Napoleon. He did do. Well, we'll talk with other little
Wait,
stuff about
Is
Napoleon.
he like very short or like or something?
No, he was 5'7", 5'7" and a half.
Oh,
It's my height. And don't be talking trash about short.
no, people are saying that it's really.
No, they try, and that's part of the British thing. The British trying to base it sound like, he's just this little jerk. And everybody, we're gonna look down on him. No, the average height of a person, the average height of a European back then was Napoleon's height, about 5'7", 5'7" and a half.
Wow.
And, you go up to Stockholm and Denmark, they're taller. You go up, you go down in the Mediterranean, they're actually a little shorter. So, but he was average. So that was just talking trash.
Are you sharing the screen?
My bad. Let me do that. We should screen. Thanks for share. Okay, there we are. I'm sharing. Okay, we're good. So so that's kind of where we left off. We talked about his reforms. Well, and we also I don't know if we got to this part, but his first council, he proposed to deal with the Pope. He says, we're going to restore your authority over the French church. Pope's like, yes, that's good. But we want the Pope to recognize Napoleon, his government is legitimate. Now, why would the Pope be a little nervous about doing that?
Because it removed the divine right of kings.
No.
Mhm.
Who's the Pope already recognized as the rightful ruler of France?
No, the Prussian.
No, Louis XVII, the son of Louis XVI. They're in exile, right? I would get out of town. And so then people were saying, even in Vendée, they were sort of like, well, maybe if we just restored the monarchy, then things would quiet down, and everything would be good with the church, go back to the old ways. And the Pope had sided with them on that and said, yeah, Napoleon the 17th is the rightful ruler. So if he recognizes Napoleon's government, is he going to get in trouble with basically Spain and Austria are also saying Napoleon the 17th is the rightful ruler. So he's got a little bit of a pickle here. So he stalls. And it's not the craziest thing, like when somebody's got a real bad decision, and just be quiet and maybe the problem will go away. Does that sound the way Napoleon would solve a problem? Just like wait and see if the problem goes away?
No.
No, he was always immediately taking the initiative.
He was gonna blow it up.
And and you can see sometimes this is prudence, and it's you really like to see prudence in your leaders. Because I think the Pope is being more prudent here, although I don't know if it's the best. Anyway, so they go for a year and a half negotiate about this whole business of France. We'll recognize France. You recognize. So finally it goes on. Finally, Napoleon basically throws down and says, "Okay, you got 1 week, but we're done talking. Here's the concordance. We've made it to this far. You got 1 week to sign it, or we're done. I'm taking back the church the way I had it before. Whatever." this is a life lesson for you, and you can dial this away, and I've seen it in business, in my life, this is, if you're in a negotiation, the person who's willing to walk away has got a tremendous advantage. So if you're gonna buy a house or something like that, and it gets into a negotiation, I guarantee you the person who's willing to walk away is the one who's gonna get the deal. So even if you don't wanna walk away, you wanna make sure they think you're willing to walk away. In this case, Napoleon was willing to walk, I'm pretty sure he was willing, but in any case, even if he wasn't, he made sure the Pope thought he was willing to walk away. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't know if you haven't had to do any negotiations in business or anything like that, but you can take that to the bank. Whoever's willing to walk away from negotiations, most likely going to get the deal.
Mhm. Yeah, welcome.
I mean, just say, we're done, we're not talking, we just won't do this deal. And you'll probably see that in international negotiations. You'll say sometimes, if there's this is probably what Trump is going to try to do with China, with the tariffs. He'll say, okay, here's the deal. And it'll be kind of an interesting sort of thing. Who's willing to walk away? China, I mean, Trump says, okay, you don't want the deal, it's off the table, we're out of here, we'll go to the next, try something else. So the idea is who's willing to just leave the table and just say, yeah, okay, we're done. No deal. Walk away. Usually you don't even have, usually the reason why you're having discussions, somebody wants this deal. Usually, hopefully both people. Anyway. So he gets this concordant, and then one of the things that he does is he takes state funds, tax funds, he rebuilds some seminaries that had been destroyed. He allows the Catholics now to actually run their schools, also allows Protestants to run their schools. He restores some of the papal states. He actually gives some of these papal states back to the Pope. Okay, no, he's good. Sign the court. We're all good there. He also basically slipped in there some language, which the Pope didn't like, but he never enforced it. And so it was kind of like, if there's no harm, there's no foul. But so anyway, because he was a tricky negotiator. So now he's the consul, he's running things, he's got everything kind of running. And on Christmas Eve in 1800, there's an assassination attempt. Do you remember some of the details of that? What happened? He's in a carriage ride going to some, either going to or coming back from some, festival type thing. And the people who tried to assassinate him, they set their bomb off late. The bomb went off late. So he was already past it. The bomb goes off, it kills people. It's still a big bomb, blows it. Well, he kind of freaks a little bit.
Is that what happened to Hitler as well?
Yes, that's the same thing happened with Hitler. I mean, the bomb that went off at the table, it's just like, I think the devil protects his own as much as he can.
Also, when he was giving a speech, the bomb was hidden behind the pillar or something. I mean, inside the pillar. And when he left the conference, they blow the bomb.
The bomb, yeah, there were several, and there was actually an assassination attempt when he was in a plane. They tried it, and that one just failed. They were gonna.
No, they said the bomb was broken, right? Some measurement, something.
I think that was it. I've got to get my history books out on Hitler. The one I use is what's his name? Oh, I've got it. I'll bring him in when we get to that point. But yeah. So anyway, the attempt fails. So what he does is he strengthens the secret police. He says, okay, we've got to, and that means we're going to open your mail. We're going to find out anybody we suspect anything. And there's going to be absolutely strict censorship because it's people keep putting this if they put out anti-Napoleon stuff, that gets people interested in assassination. And I think that's a little bit what's been happening to Trump. Everybody, I think that you put this stuff out there, there's some nutter who reads some of this stuff. He says, okay, I'm going to save the country by going out and shooting Trump. be careful what you ask for, because you can't think. The assumption is everybody thinks nobody could be worse than Trump. Really, nobody.
Nobody can.
Nobody could be worse than nobody could be worse than the Tsar of Russia. Really, nobody could be worse than Batista or from Cuba. Every time I heard that growing up, because you'd always hear that nobody could be worse than that's their excuse for doing stuff, and I'd live it. You know, history has shown that every time we do that, somebody worse comes along.
Wait, did Trump say that, let's say that, Joe Biden become mental disorder and Kamala Harris was born that way?
That sounds like something Trump would say. That sounds like something Trump would say. Okay, so then he gets a treaty with Great Britain in 1802. You think that treaty's gonna last?
For a couple months.
Yeah, right. Give it a couple of months and we're done. Okay. So then he decides, well, I need, the way this law is written with the council, I got a 10-year limit. I can only be first council for 10 years, because they basically had like a term limit, which, by the way, I think is a really great idea, term limits. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But he doesn't like term limits. He wants to be first council for life. I mean, have you seen anything where Napoleon said, yeah, we'll do some limits here? Never seen that in his behavior ever.
And that kind of like tyranny,
Pardon me?
like
Tyranny.
Like a tyranny?
Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, being the leader for life is very much going to lead you to a tyranny.
That's what Putin and
Yeah, that's leads them to that.
yeah.
It's a logical step.
Mhm.
And it also leads to kind of like an Gahar Amardung sort of attitude where after me, it's all over. I'm it. Right? And that's what's got me a little bit worried about what's, I think Biden very poorly made a very bad decision to give Ukraine long-range missiles and the permission to use them. These are missiles that could fly out of Ukraine and hit Moscow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a US missile was fired at Moscow. I'm not sure if that was
Is
real
that
or
like real
not.
recent?
Real recent. I'm not
And
sure
that's-
if that's real, but it could be fake, but Putin
And that's a really bad idea.
yeah, Putin said that he was threatening nuclear response if that
And now we can get to the Gahar. We got two old geezers that are they're on their last leg. And it's kind of like, without me, Russia can't exist, and Biden would have nutter. Without me, the United States can't exist. So why don't we just go ahead and just incinerate the whole thing? Well, that's exactly Hitler's attitude, right?
Yeah.
That's Gahar. Take it to the end. Anyway, so I'm off. But I guess the reason why we take these little trips into the present is because I'm trying to make a point that history repeats itself, that you can learn from history. You can see some of the little red flags that come up and say, that's been done before.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes the people who actually don't want us to learn from history, when they say we need to take down all the statues, you can't teach about the Civil War, you can't do any of this stuff. I'm actually wondering do they want to repeat history? Is that part of the game there? There's things they don't want us to learn about history. I mean, it's bad enough that people just don't learn anything and they don't get it. But I actually think there's some people that would like to replay the French Revolution, but this time it would work. This time we make it work. That's vague. Anyway, so they took a plebiscite on whether you could make Napoleon leader for life. Of the 3.5 million votes, only 10,000 say no. I would say that's a mandate. That's like getting 99.98% of the vote. So the Senate changes the law, so he becomes council for life.
That's what they do in China for electing the president.
Well, definitely, there's some real solid controls on how the election runs in China. By the way, what famous communist said, it does not matter who casts the votes. What matters is it doesn't matter who casts the votes. it matters who counts the votes. Who said that? Stalin. Just, and there's people out there who would say, yeah. And he has been, and you know, if you have a corrupt system, you can do that.
Mhm.
Okay, so then Napoleon, despite the fact that they signed a treaty in 1802, decides that this is the relations with Britain is not working out like they'd hoped. I guess they haven't rolled over and died like he wanted them to. And so, and then Britain has utter disdain for Napoleon, and this is where I have this Corsican scoundrel, this commoner. And I just have the little notes in here about Nelson was the son of a middle-class reverend. Napoleon's father was a wealthy businessman and lawyer, recognized his authorities as an accepted interloper. That means he was a good somebody that you could send on a mission to solve problems. Okay, and he became a member of the Council of 12 Nobles, who assisted the governor of Corsica. I mean, he was even presented to Louis XVI during the collective audience. So this guy had cred. I mean, Napoleon's family, the Bonaparte family had cred. Nelson, basically, they got cred after Nelson became the admiral and had some, so that's kind of ironic. Nelson is accusing Napoleon of achieving success the way Nelson achieved it, whereas Napoleon actually had more breadth. History's full of irony. In May 1803, because he's getting ready to invade Britain. I mean, he's getting all his ships and everything ready to go. They're getting all ready to go invade Great Britain. So in 1803, you have the Louisiana Purchase, which is about, I don't know, about a third of the total territory in North America, well, in what we call the United States. He sells it for $15 million, which is 3 cents an acre. That's a good deal. If you were to try to buy it today, 15 million acres would be $2.2 trillion.
Oh,
If you're just buying undeveloped land, which would work out to $2,000 an acre. And I just wanted to put in there that undeveloped land vicinity of Purcellville, don't have to drive very far from here to get some undeveloped land. It's going to be between $10,000 and $50,000 an acre. I mean, so if you tried to buy it, so that $2,000 an acre is basically taking what 15 million was in those days and what 15 million is today.
And he sold them the Mississippi.
Yeah, the Mississippi. I mean, it's just why did he do that?
Yeah,
Why would he sell them? Why would he even think of doing that?
because his war economy was going bankrupt and he needed money.
It was a little bit more important than that. $15 million was not that much money. I mean, he can use that for his war effort, but still, we're just buying a few weeks worth of cash to go keep his armies going. Why does he get rid of it?
So people would be less interested in it and they'd focus more on Europe.
No.
no.
Who would invade that territory?
The Spanish were gonna invade, right?
Well, the Spanish,
Spanish.
Or who else? Who's up in Canada right now?
British.
Yes. So the British still own Canada, right? And they could come straight down and take that land, and the French have got enough problems in the economy, and Europe. Plus, they don't really have a navy, so you have the British who can absolutely control the Atlantic Ocean. And how if you're French, how would you defend Louisiana from either the Spanish or the British? How would that? You couldn't really. You couldn't. So he says, well, that's going to be a loss. If we go to war, I'm going to lose Louisiana. That's going to be a write-off. So I might as well get something for it, right? That was the thing. And I just want to point out, sometimes it's an ill wind that blows no good. Getting that Louisiana Purchase for that price and that opportunity, and there's no pushback. Plus, if Napoleon can't come over there and try to take it again, really, as long as the British are alive. Maybe that was part of his plan. I take care of the British and then I can go take it back. Maybe that was in his mind too. But it was a huge benefit to the United States. By the way, who in the United States was actually against the Louisiana Purchase?
And watch.
Jefferson?
It was it wasn't Jefferson.
The one
The ones who were actually against it were the Federalists. And so that was the Federalists were against, this is the Hamilton types. They were against the purchase because they said that's $50 million is expensive. And I'm looking, 3 cents an acre? Dude, call your real estate agent, ask them a couple of questions.
Wait, to be honest, 2,000 per acre is really cheap.
Yeah, 3 cents an acre is really cheap. Here, if you own property right around here in Fairfax County, it's $1 million an acre.
Wait, how big is an acre?
Pardon me, how big is an acre?
Yeah,
It's around a
So
football
are
field.
you familiar with hectares, which is the version, the size they have in England?
wow.
That's a square kilometer, right?
That's a square kilometers. A hectare is
It's 1,000 square meters.
1,000 square meters.
I
which
thought
is a
it's,
football field by a football field, 100 by hundreds of thousands.
so 1,000 meters squared was $2,000. So I mean 1 meter squared was $2. No.
That's for a hectare.
Well, that would be in there, but a hectare is much smaller than an acre. I think there's like about 4 or 5 hectares to an acre. I have to look it
I
up.
thought hectares were bigger than acres.
Oh, no, hectares are smaller than acres. Oh, well, you know what? You got me on the Red Sea. We'll look that up.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that when I was living over in Germany, we talked about hectares and acres. The hectare was 1,000 square meters was smaller than an acre. But I will check that. I will fact check myself. So Britain declares war on France in 1803. And again, I don't know why these people want to always be the first to declare war. France had not done anything yet. So then, 2 weeks later, Napoleon, he invades, but he doesn't invade England. He invades Hanover, Germany. Why would he invade Hanover, Germany?
Because they had a lot of ports.
No, Hanover, Germany is landlocked, right in the middle of the land there. Who's the king of England at this time? In 1803.
No, George. No, George did that.
George III, the same one we had our revolution with. George III. George III was from where?
Germany.
He's from Germany, and particularly what?
Edinburgh.
He was from Hanover. So this is basically in your face, King George. I'm taking, you declare war. Let's.
So he took his birthplace.
So because he was the and King with the first king, King George the First, second, and third, they made kings of England, and it came down through the family lines that they needed to pull a king from somewhere. But some daughter of Stuart's or something. But anyway, so he was from Hanover, and they pulled him over. So the George 1, 2, and 3, they were also the rulers of Hanover. Now, the first ones, 1 and 2, basically lived in Hanover and just let the prime minister run it. By the time King George III he was more of an Englishman by reading and everything. He was raised in England. So he lived in England. And Hanover was over there but that still was his. So Napoleon starts by, I'm going to take your Hanover. This is so high school. So high school. And the amount of people that get killed for this, it's just another. Then there's another assassination plot that goes wrong. And sadly, for this guy, the secret police actually finger the wrong guy. He's a guy up in kind of an exile that's up in Germany, but it's really German. a duke up there. And he sends the army up, they capture him, bring him back, have a kangaroo court trial, and then execute him. Guy was innocent. He was not part of the plot. So now he decides he wants to become emperor, not just council for life. Next step up, I want to be emperor. Which is kind of like being council for life. It's just it's a title change. Why did he use the word emperor and not the word king?
Because
He
Well,
was,
because, Louis was interested.
Well, one, kings had a bad rep in France. But there's another reason, why the word emperor and not the word king? Let me put it that way. Why did he use that word and not the word king?
because he wanted to make France emperor
No.
empire.
he wanted to be in,
There's actually a nerdy word reason, and it's in the book. I didn't know this until I read it in this book. So the Latin emperor means what? Did anybody recall that? What is the Latin? Anybody? What's the word emperor in Latin comes from? What would be the most direct translation of that?
Well, it comes from imperator, which is like a general almost.
Exactly. Imperator is a general. And what was Napoleon?
the general.
A general. So he can take that name imperator or emperor. And that was when you actually think about it, yeah, back in Rome, who would become these emperors? Yeah, it was these generals. So I can see where they became like the general of the, and they kind of ran it like it was the army. Okay, got it. Okay, now I didn't understand that until I read it here. I learned something in, reading this thing. So he wants to become the emperor. And then the Senate basically has another plebiscite saying, well, I mean, is it okay with all you peeps out there if he becomes emperor? And again, it's absolutely crushing. 99.9% of them say, yeah, make him emperor. So in May 1804, they offer the crown to Napoleon. I mean, it hasn't been that long since we were cutting off the head of the king. We're not even 20 years into this. Cut off the head of the king. No, it's not even 15 years. So Napoleon, misspelled that. No, I didn't. Napoleon builds an imperial aristocracy. He's sort of like, we're going to church, now that I'm the emperor, we're going to church up, Versailles. I'm going to hand out titles to my relatives, my sister's husband, my two brothers. They become nobles. So he's handing out to the aristocracy his cronies. He basically starts learning books of etiquette so he knows how to behave like a fancy person. And he wants the Pope to crown him at Reims or Paris. Now, why does he want the Pope to crown?
So the Catholics would also recognize me.
It's even more vain than that.
Isn't it Charlemagne? That's how he became emperor.
That's right. Charlemagne became head of the Holy Roman Empire by being crowned by the Pope. So he says, I'm going to do the same thing. He's going to crown me, and then I'm going to be the de facto emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, which means I'll be able to have, kind of like gives me rights to go in and take Austria and the rest of Europe. I'm now the new Charlemagne. Pope stalls to November again. Why? Louis the 17th. He's got his, he's France II up in Austria is not going to like this. But he finally caves, and then you have the coronation. Who puts the crown, which was the exact replica of Charlemagne's crown, to the stitch almost? And who put that on Napoleon's head?
Napoleon.
Uh,
Right.
Napoleon.
Napoleon went over there. They're having the whole ceremony. And Napoleon just goes over, takes the crown, and puts it on his own head, which is another one of Another one of like, you know, just an insult to the Pope. Pope's sitting there like, oh, like a long trip up here for nothing. So and then he crowns his wife, the empress. So the state really is in control, is it? Well, that's kind of where I wanted to get to today. And then when we come back tomorrow, we're going to get into the Napoleonic Wars, which is the next chapter. So what I'd like you to do, the Wars of Napoleon, I'd like to get through the at least get through the war of the Third Coalition. And we'll talk about setting the stage for it, and we'll get through. This will probably take you to
Waterloo.
page 2. Oh, no, there's a lot. We're going up. Gonna be
Which coalition was that?
the
Which
one
one?
in Waterloo. That was like the 7th coalition. I have to look it up in my chart here. They stopped giving them names in there, but I have them on another thing that I looked up on the.
Is this the one where he killed the Russians in the water? The third one?
No. This is so. Let me see if I can get this thing to come up. Why will not this thing? I hate this software.
Yeah.
I really hate the software. Anyway, what's gonna happen is I'll get it up there somehow. I'll figure this thing out and put everything away. And it still will not. It will not launch Excel spreadsheet on this stupid machine. I do not know why.
It is Microsoft.
Microsoft is on my list of people not to like. Anyway, let me just see if I've got. I just went completely in here.
Maybe you need to restart it.
Same stupid thing. It will not bring up Excel. I paid my bills. I don't know what it's doing. So I'll have to go fight with my machine, but I'll go. I've got a whole list that takes you through his whole career, and it's broken out by which war, and they broke it out in the war of like the first coalition, second coalition, third coalition. We've already been through 2 coalitions. We haven't really named them such, but I'll break the whole thing out and you can see this. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just take the stupid worksheet, send it to you guys by email, and that way at least you can see it. Okay, even if I can't bring it up. But that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna we'll get through hopefully the first war of the Third Coalition, and then that should get us through. By the way, next Tuesday, I'm busy.
No, we don't have to do that.
We don't have to okay, because I'd heard 2 different things. Because I can't be here.
No, we don't
We don't have one next
we
week.
don't-
I would be very lonely if I came.
Yeah,
Okay, good. So nothing next week.
no.
Excellent. So we'll do the Third Coalition. That gives me